You've just shot this epic footage after climbing an epic mountain and flying to an epic faraway place. But your audio sounds like this. Today we're going to teach you how to make cinematic wind noise in your digital audio workstation. Hey YouTube, remember when everyone used to say that? Hello YouTube. Hi YouTube. What's up everybody, it's Dale here with a tutorial on how to make wind electronically in your DAW. There's several ways to do this, and I'm just going to open up Pro Tools and make it from scratch. I have no preconceived plan of how I'm going to do it. Over the years, some of my mentors showed me it's more important to understand the components that go into a sound than to just open up presets. So when I'm listening to music, I'm thinking, wow, I can enjoy that as a listener, but also what are the elements that go into making that sound the way it sounds? What kind of effects are on there? What kind of filtering, EQ, compression to make a sound like what it is? What is the ADSR, or the attack, decay, sustain, and release of a particular sound? These things all exist in nature. They also exist electronically. So we can take these components and this knowledge and make something from something else. A lot of what is done on soundtracks for film is not the actual sound recorded. So you might record a slicing tomato. It doesn't sound big enough. So it'll be made as a construct to sound bigger than life. We're going to do that with wind right now. So I've got my little USB controller, and I have a Pro Tools blank session open, and let's hit it. First, I'm going to make an instrument track here. We're going to hit Command Shift New, one instrument track. And there's a couple different ways to do it. I think I'm going to start with the synthesizer. And so I'm going to go to my plugins, instrument, and I'm going to use this one called Vacuum. And Vacuum replicates an old-timey synthesizer. That does not sound like wind. Let's go to some factory. Oh, I already have a wind track here. Wind Dale. That's not bad. But what you hear about this wind thing that I already created is it's kind of boring. When we think about wind, what makes it up? Well, the wind is moving around trees and buildings, across the ground, through grass and bushes, maybe into windows, through gaps. And so we would have a noise component, and then maybe a slight whistling component. The tone varies as the wind increases, decreases, as the angle changes. All those things can be factored in by programming a little variation in the sound. First, let's record a couple notes. Not a lot going on here. Just a couple MIDI notes. That one came on a little strong. So you don't want that. You don't want the wind to just snap on. Wind always comes gradually. I can always take those MIDI notes out. Maybe try a couple an octave down. That's so weird. When you go an octave down, it sounds different. So I'd say first, how do you like my keyboard stand? A little wonky there. What I'm going to do is slow down the attack so it doesn't come on so quick. So I'm going to find my envelope. I'm not sure if I'm on envelope 1 or 2. I'm going to slow down the attack. There we go. Really slow. Well, that sounds way better. So let's just start recording from scratch again. I'm going to undo what I've already done. Control Z, Command Z, depending on your DAW and your iOS. And here we go. A little more intense there. I think this might be a monophonic sound in the synthesizer, so what I'm probably going to have to do is make a few layers, and those layers will give it the variability. But that's a good start right there. The nice thing with recording MIDI is you can change the notes around. This to me really sounds like Wind in the Pines. So this little piece I laid on top, I'm going to go to velocity and just have that come in real quiet. See if that's better. Yeah, it's a little intense. So I would probably have a slower attack for that second note. I think at the moment I'm just going to delete the second note. I'm actually going to mute it here, which is Command M. There we go. Now we're just working the one note, and I can stretch that one note out for a long time, and then we'll do some more manipulation. To add variability, I can either automate some of the synthesizer elements, or I could add an EQ and automate that. And automating it will be a great way to add variability to it. I don't want to screw up my sound that I have here going, so I'm going to automate an EQ first. So just add a basic Pro Tools EQ to this sound. And then check this out. If I just bump a certain frequency range, I can increase the way that sounds. I'm going to make it a little narrower, the Q. And so check this out. I'll play it back and move that. And you can see as I sweep it around, it changes the sound quite a bit. So that's really cool. But what I want to do is I want to program those changes. I don't want to sit here moving that because I might have 3 or 4 of those filters moving, changing on different tracks. So we're going to program that. And so how we do that is we go into automation and we can select mid frequency, the MF, and I can go in and automate those elements. Let's go to MF, mid band, and I'm going to automate the gain, the frequency, and the Q. Add. Now, if I go into auto, let's just hit OK. And if I go into touch, we should see those parameters light up with red dots, and they have. So I'm going to start with it flat, and then we're going to slowly program some changing undulation of the wind. Here we go. How much sweeping you do would vary based on how much attention you want the wind to call to itself. If you're trying to establish it's a dark and scary night, you'd do a lot more sweeping around. But if you're actually just going to add this into, say, a walk in the woods, you'd probably have it a lot more subtle. On the sweeping effects on the channel, I do a similar approach, but I make it real stable and I automate it to automatically repeat a designated period of time. Here, I'm doing a more randomized approach. Whoops, I kind of slipped around a little bit. You don't want to shift it too fast. And sometimes that happens with the mouse. That got a little weird there. Okay, so we'll just do a minute of wind, so that should be good. Now I can go in and look at those parameters, and where I jumped around, I can fix some of those. So let's go into EQ. Let's look at the mid-band frequency. And we can see this represents now the frequency that I drew. So I want to smooth out where I kind of jumped around abruptly, and I'll do that by just eliminating some of the points to make it smoother. Wind is natural and smooth. It doesn't It could jump around, but even if it jumps, it's going to do it slowly. Even a tornado has a smoothness to it. So we've got that programmed. I'm going to look at the gain and make sure that my gains for the boost don't change too much. And maybe even add some more random points in here. I don't want anything jumping. I want it to just smoothly go very organically. Okay. I think that's pretty good. This one jumps a little high at the end, so let's just grab all that. And I'm going to select and just pull it down a little bit. A little something like that. And let's have it end at the same point. So there we go. So that sounded pretty good just like that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a second track now of the wind. And so we're going to go to duplicate track. Take this track and we're going to do a Alt-Shift-D. Duplicate once. You got to be careful when you're duplicating instruments because the latency might kind of bog it down. I think I'm going to undo this automation for this other track. Actually, fast, well, so many ways to do it. I'm thinking out loud, folks. Bear with me. Take those and undo it. And then let's automate a lower component for the second one. I'm actually going to go in on this one and I'm going to automate everything. I'm just going to Command A. And this is another technique when you're in a hurry, just automate everything. We used to not do that because it gives you too many variables and could bog the computer down. Not such a big deal anymore. I'm going to take the original track, put it on the right speaker, take the new track, put it on the left speaker so you can hear the difference. And then anything I grab, it's just going to grab it and move it around. I'm going to go with the orange a little lower this time. There we go. Now it sounds like the wind blowing in a few trees around you, maybe blowing over a canyon lip. Whoops. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're not putting too much mids in there because it'll start to sound unnatural. Okay, let's take that one. And this is the trick, is because I did so many. Low mid-band frequency. There it is. And I can take that now that it's in here and I could actually just duplicate it. Command D, D, D. And then I could make it more organic. I could organicify it by just taking some of the randomness out. I could take a little bit of this, copy it over here, and just kind of randomize it. And there you go. I'll solo this track up so you can hear it by itself. Put it back in the middle. Almost sounds like a river in a canyon. So next I would add another component of some low noise. So I could use the synthesizer again. Let's make a new track. Command Shift New. And we want another instrument track. Create. And I'm going to drag that vacuum plug-in down by holding Alt. Now I have a clone of it. And this time I'm going to vary some stuff in the plug-in to try to get a different sound. And frankly, I can't even remember what all these parameters do, so I'm just going to horse around with it till it sounds interesting to me. Oh, I used the wrong plugin. See how it's selected there? I need to select this one. Oh, that happens sometimes. We just crashed. Okay, so reopen. Darn it. This is the problem with using a lot of soft synthesizer plugins and doing things like dragging and dropping and automating. Sometimes it just hangs the computer up. Of course, I'm on Pro Tools 9. I got a decent amount of memory in this computer 2008 Mac Pro. You might say, hey, you're a professional audio engineer. Why aren't you using Pro Tools 12? Well, sometimes it's about the art of the upgrade, knowing when to upgrade. So let's go in and Dale Wind. And so I'm going to look at this one. It says 11:34, but it's 12:13 in the afternoon. So I need to go to session file backups. And the most recent session file backup, that's where we're going to start, 12:08. So that happens sometimes. You know, I lost 5 minutes worth of work. We got to redo some stuff really quick. This time I'm just going to draw the note in. Man, that was a setback. There we go. Automate that EQ again. Low mid frequency. Coming on strong. Pulling it out a little bit. Let's go down a little lower. Now I'm not going to go into the low lows. We'll make another track that does that. I'd like to narrow the cue, but I can't really do it while I'm holding the mouse. It's so cool if you can just go up and touch these buttons, but you really can't. Even in the new version of Pro Tools. Now let's look at what we just programmed. You know, in the old days we had to do all this stuff by hand and record it. And that was actually really fun. There it is. And so then to randomize it, I'm just going to select it and I'm going to Command D that. And then just kind of make some random changes to it. Take this, copy, paste here. I'm getting hungry. So there's our new randomized wind. Sounding pretty good. So let's add another component. I'm going to add just noise since I'm a noise guy. So we're going to go new track. We're going to just use an audio track this time. I'm going to set up a signal generator. We're going pink noise. And then what we're going to do is we're going to automate this pink noise to kind of come in and out, in and out. I mean, it's just too much by itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to automate the volume on it. And just have it kind of come in and out here and there. You might think, wow, you could just do that? Yeah, you never know what you're going to get when you just kind of horse around with this. But again, the noise is still a little too, it's just too pure and unchanging. It's out of EQ to that filter. I want this to have more of a subsonic vibe to it. So I'm just going to program some lows into it. That's kind of nice. Automate the low mids. And then you select this to touch. And then here we go. It just needs to be randomized in a natural fashion by doing stuff like this. The big problem is it's hard to record wind in the fields, you know, unless you have a dead cat on your mic and a blimp. Really hard to get it. We're always trying to get rid of noise, then you want to add some wind noise. So this is a good way to do it and then add it back into your footage. So let's look at what I programmed. Low mid gain band looks pretty interesting, and then I'm going to just randomize that a little bit. D. And then this other thing about this signal is I wanted to change the width. I'm actually going to go to auto latch, start at the top, and I'm going to quickly tighten. Breakfast is ready, she says. It's a good idea. She just puts a sign up. So I'm going to tighten my cue. And then that, because I'm in latch mode instead of read mode, it's just going to stay where I left it the whole time. And then maybe we'll vary the dynamics. A little bit here and there. Go to the gain. I am in gain. It's starting to sound pretty good. Okay, I'm going to take a quick breakfast break. I'm going to come back and we're going to add a little bit of whistle and then we'll be done.
How to make cinematic wind noise is brought to you by Dalesnale and 10 hours of sizzling bacon.
Part 2. I just got to say I sat on my headphones, the HD202s. These are pretty crummy headphones, but what I love is that they're like a Lego, and if you break them, you can just snap them back together. Awesome. I've got fancier headphones, but these are great for in the studio. Here we are back with our noise. I'm going to vary the gain of this a little bit, the amplitude of the low mid frequency. There we go. Okay. Sounding pretty good. Now we might want to add a howling component to it. A lot of the textbook cliche wind would have a little. I could just record that and put that in there. But I think what I'm going to do is try to program that. Let's add another track. So let's do audio track. Let's add some noise, signal generator. We're actually going to use white noise this time. There we go. And then let's add something to put some resonance in there. Modulation. Let's try a vintage filter. I can basically adjust this resonance until it starts to make it whistle a little bit. And this cutoff. That's obviously that's too bright. Probably don't want anything above 3K. That's pretty cool sounding. So here we go. What I'm going to do is automate those parameters. I'm just to be quick about it, I'm just going to automate everything. I'm going to go to latch mode so that the moves continue from where I left off. And then we're just listening to the wind. I'm going to hit play and let's automate. Change the resonance slightly. Maybe cut off some more. And again, I'll smooth out any of the abruptness once I see the envelopes that I've programmed. That sounded a little electronic there. I'm going to go to read. We go to vintage filter. We're going to look at our cutoff. Real subtle. And then we can make that longer by just Command D'ing a few times. We're going to go to resonance. And because I couldn't do both at the same time, I'm going to add a little more randomness to that. Let's duplicate that a little bit. D. And now let's listen to them all together. And then the last thing I need to do is kind of mix to taste these elements. Some of them are coming on too strong because we added so many pieces. So let's back off these two right here. And then I also probably would automate some of the panning of the howling. So it moves around a little bit side to side. That's a winner, man. That filter with the resonating cutoff. And there's a few filters that would do that. And I could have also altered the resonance in vacuum itself. You could do it up here with this cutoff resonation. You can see those in here. So that's another way that it could be done. Those are the basic fundamental components that make up wind. I hope that helps you guys out to see how wind is put together and how you can construct electronically something that sounds very natural, and the techniques that I use to make wind as well as a lot of other electronic sounds. There is a electronic ocean and electronic rain that I made a couple years ago on the channel. If you enjoy content like this, let me know. I'd like to make some more of it. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe if you feel like this was worthy or not worthy. And Dalesnale, got to get to a recording session. See you later.